Hail and welcome to TAC Halls, official podcast of the Asatru Community Inc. My name is Seth president of the Asatru Community, and I am joined by Andrew Price, vice president, and Bret Shoemaker, chairman of the board. On this podcast, we will be exploring the northern tradition known as Asatru, as well as the wide breadth of heathenry and how it pertains to us, its practitioners in the modern world. We will be delving into the past and learning the history and the reason behind the rituals that we do today, and how all of this comes back around to make heathenry and Asatru what it is. Join us, sit back, and welcome to our hall. We would like to give a special thanks to Hauk Hiemsdallman for generously allowing us to use his song for our intro. Hail and welcome.
On the die, so she said goodbye. I remember the look of hope in her eyes. Keep the ravens on your eyes, never let them out of sight. All these thoughts and memories lift you up on raven wings.
Hail and welcome to this episode of TAC Halls. For this episode, we are very excited to have a very special guest today. I'm Seth and I'm joined by
Andrew Price, vice president here at TAC.
And Bret Shoemaker, chairman of the board.
Now, our very special guest that I just talked about is Hauk Hiemsdallman. Many of you have probably heard of him, and we are very excited to have him to interview today. And I will hand it over to Bret to start that.
Great. First of all, Hauk, thank you for being with us today, and thank you very much for giving permission to use your song as our title for TAC Halls.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope your audience enjoys it.
Absolutely. I know I do.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Now, some of our listeners may not have heard of you. Tell us about yourself and how you came to Asatru.
Oh, well, just start with the big questions, why don't you? Well, my name's Hauk. I am a heathen out in Los Angeles. I'm a member of Heimdall's Kindred. I've been heathen 14, 15 years, give or take. The early 2000s were kind of vague. I was in college. It was a good time. But yeah, along the way, I was raised Catholic. Didn't quite take to it as well as my folks might have wanted me to. And in college, started looking around, seeing what else was out there. And, well, you know, I kind of dabbled in this and dabbled in that and dabbled in some other stuff until I was listening to a band from Norway called Hauk Hiemsdallman. A friend of mine made me a mixtape of them, and he's like, "Dude, you got to check these guys out. You're gonna absolutely love them." And it was all songs about Odin and about the old ways, and I'm like, this stuff is awesome. So, being a college student at the time with nothing but time on my hands instead of going to class, I looked up this band, and they had a link to a kindred in Pennsylvania, I think. And that was the first time I actually heard the word Asatru, and I looked into it and I was like, this makes sense. This is what I've been looking for. This is what I'm looking for. And so I just started delving deeper into it, and it just made sense. It felt like coming home. It was where I was meant to be.
Well, that's awesome. We're glad you did that. I know I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh, thank you.
Two of your songs really helped me through a hard time when my dad passed away. Raven Wings that we used for our show, and No Mercy for the Slain.
Thank you.
Two of my favorite songs by you, and I have a few of your albums at this point.
Cool. Well, appreciate that. And, music, it's something that I've always felt I needed to make, and I love doing it. It's what I live for. And the fact that I can help other people by doing that means the world to me. It really does.
Well, now, obviously you're a Heimdallsman, but are there any other gods or goddesses that you feel close to that inspire you?
Oh, absolutely. The beautiful thing about Asatru is that it's a polytheistic religion. We have many gods, and people ask me that, and I will say it's like going to a family reunion. I show up. You've got grandma, and if you're lucky, great grandma, great grandpa. You've got all the aunts and uncles and the cousins, and I always wind up in the kitchen hanging out with Uncle Bob, because that's who I feel connected to. But I always make time to try and say hi to everyone, to make the rounds. Odin has been a very big impact on my life. So is Frigga. So have, Freyr and Freya. I've in the past couple of years, I've been making more of an effort to get to know the Frigga's handmaidens, all the I don't want to say minor goddesses, but the less well-known goddesses, so to speak. Hlyn and Air and Saga, and I mean, there's so much to explore in Asatru that, while yes, I am a Heimdallsman, he is the god I feel closest to, the one I look up to the most. There's no limits to how much we can explore this faith.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been getting a very close relationship with Ear lately, too, from the aspect of healing and things like that. So I know where you're coming from there. Mm-hmm. So what are your musical inspirations, then? Well,
that's not exactly an easy question. Depends on... My MP3 player frequently will go from Megadeth to Taylor Swift to Willie Nelson to weird Scandinavian disco metal. I like a lot of different things. I love Beethoven. I love Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, the classics. I love Megadeth. Like old school thrash metal. Just good music is good music. I'm a guitar player. I also play banjo and bass, so there's different... If I'm playing banjo, there's a sound I'm trying to emulate. If I'm playing bass, there's bass players I'm listening to really bring out the best of my playing.
Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that picture you put on Facebook of the Godzilla bass.
Oh, yeah, that thing's a monster.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, there's my band recently got endorsed by Goldtone Music Group out in Florida. They make amazing, they call it folkternative instruments. So they do like hybrids. You can get like a banjo ukulele hybrid, or a Telecaster banjo hybrid, or I have the Telecaster banjo hybrid. I absolutely love it. I'm looking forward to getting a 6-string mandolin from them next, which is going to be a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me to my next question. I've known you basically from your solo albums, but tell us about your band.
Well, we've got a new band out called Black Hat Society. It's outlaw country, alternative country. So my band, my old school, the solo band, the metal band, had put out our 7th album, Anthems for an Age Arriving. And it was the heaviest, most...
Good album.
Thank you. It was the heaviest, most metal album we'd ever put out. And... we spent 3 years working on it. We hit release, and 2 weeks later, my grandpa died. And my grandpa had, for years, been telling me, like, no, dude, you got to do a country album. Forget this metal stuff. It's, it's not what you need to do. He just kept saying, do a country album. And, I've got a cowboy hat. I drive a pickup truck. I do love country. And, I play the banjo, and I've got a great acoustic guitar and all this. But I was like, oh, metal. Grandpa died. I put my electric guitar down, picked up my acoustic for about 3 months straight, and all I did was write. And at the end of this, I had a couple albums worth of music, and I sat down and was like, well, what am I going to do with this? And I called the fiddle player from the Hauk band, the solo band, like, hey, I got an idea. I want to do something new. Let's meet up. Let's talk. Let me play you some demos and see what you think. And so Karen and I got together, and she listened to some of the demos, and she's like, this is awesome. We need to make this happen. And so she and I started jamming on these songs and rewriting the songs, and kind of, each of us really collaborating on it, bringing our different influences together, trying different things. And we've had a lot of fun doing it. We've been gigging all over California. We just released a 4-song EP. It's on iTunes and Spotify and Bandcamp and Amazon. And if there's a digital music source out there, it's probably on there right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. We're looking to put out a full-length album pretty quick. It's when I say country, you get different reactions. Some people immediately go to, modern bro country that's like half rap, and it's all about, I got a truck and I got a girl with jeans painted on and I'm drinking beer. And there's some people that go to like Hank Williams, the old school country. We're definitely not bro country. That's but musically, you can tell there's still a bit of a metal player in me when I do a guitar solo. There's a definite alt country flavor. There's a lot of banjo picking, a lot of more like rockabilly drums, but lyrically, these songs are a lot of fun. There's a bit of a Weird Tales influence. I don't know if you're familiar with like Robert E. Howard or H.P. Lovecraft. The genre Weird Tales. I took a lot of the old stories about the gods and worked them into like westerns. So
I see.
Oh, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I've always tried to be subtle about working the gods in. There's a lot of, especially with metal bands, there's like, they do a song, it's like Thor, he has a hammer. It's a big hammer. And then lightning, and he's got a big hammer, and wolves, and he's got a big hammer. And it's like, guys, come on. Show me some art, show me some poetry. So I do have a song about Thor that's on the upcoming full-length album. It's called 9 Steps. And I basically work it as I'm out there hiking. I meet a guy who's been bitten by a rattlesnake, and he says he's dying. And he takes my hand and says, give me the strength to walk 9 steps, and I'll die like a man. Wow. And yeah, it's subtle. There's people in the audience that are going to know I'm singing about Thor. And there's people that are just going to say, here's a song about a guy who wasn't going to go quietly. He knew he was dying, and he says, screw it, I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to keep on walking because that's what I do. And that's, maybe that'll inspire people, and maybe some people will just say, hey, this is a cool rockabilly song.
That's amazing. And I've raised on country music, bluegrass, modern country. My family's all from Tennessee on my mother's side. I'll definitely have to be checking you guys out.
Cool, thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, do you tour, or do you have a set gig that you do, or just based in Los Angeles, or?
Based in Los Angeles. We're playing about once a month. There's a place called the Roar Room up in Glendale. We're taking gigs here and there whenever we can find them, and we just played up in the Antelope Valley. We're looking to start doing touring. We're in talks for a U.S. tour next summer. We're still working out the details that may or may not happen, but we want to start doing up and down California at least once every other month. We want to start hitting Arizona and Nevada. The problem with touring is that most of the money you get from it doesn't come from playing the gig, it comes from selling merchandise. So in order to do extensive tours, we have to have CDs, we have to have shirts, we have to have stickers and water bottles and beer can coolers and, all these different things to sell in order to make money to get back home or to get to the next gig. So, that takes time to build up, having a couple albums under our belts, having a little publicity from those to ensure people are showing up to shows. It's a building process. But you know what? It's a hell of a lot of fun. I
can imagine.
It sounds very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you're concentrating on your band right now. Is there any plans for another solo album at all?
Well, I'm always writing songs. I'm focusing on Black Hat Society right now. There may be another solo album at some point. I'm doing actually a lot of film scoring right now, and if I get a good hunk of music from a film I'm working on, that stuff usually gets released. I just did a short film called Man of Action, which we put up on iTunes and Amazon and Spotify and everything. That was a lot of fun to work on. It's about 10 minutes of music, so you can definitely check that out. It's all instrumental music. But in terms of like a straight up like metal solo album, probably not anytime soon.
Well, where can our listeners go to get your music? I know you mentioned Spotify and iTunes. I know I got my albums of yours on iTunes itself. But do you have like a web page or any links that you want to put out there for our listeners?
Well, that's actually a good question. In terms of buying hard CDs, probably the best thing to do is just email me at haukmusic@gmail.com. That's HAUKMUSIC@gmail.com. Or you can PayPal me there. That's same address if you want to buy actual hard CDs from me. I still have a few of those left. I'm got some old stock we're trying to unload. I'm trying to get all the other albums back up on iTunes. That's just one of those things that I have the means to do it, but I haven't really had the time lately. Just shoot me an email or find me on Facebook and come say hi.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, we will have one of your songs here in just a few minutes for our listeners to hear. Which song are you going to have us listen to here today?
It's a song called Ghosts of the Open Road. It's the single from the new EP. The EP is called This Machine Kills Fascists, but the song Ghosts of the Open Road, it's a little shout out to Woody Guthrie. It's again kind of the Weird Tales oeuvre. It's about a guy who goes to go visit his sister in Joshua Tree and misses a turnoff and keeps on driving and kind of sees where the open road will take him. And strange things happen.
That's something I always wish I could do. Good. I had the honor of bloating with Hauk and his wife Jen, and really good people. I definitely recommend you guys checking them out as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Hauk, do you have any words for our listeners? Open mic time, if I guess you'd say. Anything you want to say to our listeners? Anything from the heart?
Oh, a chance to speech. I like it. There's Asatru and the gods can really lead us to wonderful, amazing things as long as we all work together, come together in a spirit of frith and friendship, understand what being a heathen really means. There's been a lot of fights online. There's a lot of anger that I see expressed, and this does not aid us. This does not help us grow. Let's all get together in person. Every region has its own local gathering, local meetups, meet people, shake them by the hand. If you're in Southern California or within relative drying or flying distance of Southern California, my kindred hosts an Astara gathering 3-day camp out every spring. Come on by, say hello, raise a horn, and let's, the more we come together as a people, the stronger we grow.
I would agree with that.
We can fight over the differences. We can fight over the petty arguments. What matters is we come together, we honor the gods, we honor the old ways, and we grow strong together.
Well, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the questions I had for you. Seth, Andrew, do you have anything for Hauk?
You mentioned your kindred's Osar celebration, and real quick, just for our listeners, so that they can learn more about this. What is the name of your kindred?
The name of the kindred is Hiemsdallman Kindred. We do have a website. I don't remember what the title of it is. But if anyone's in the LA area who wants to get in touch with us, just shoot me an email, haukmusic@gmail.com. It's HAUKMUSIC@gmail.com. That's probably the fastest way to get a hold of us.
That's very exciting. I think we'll have to check that out. I mean, I know Seth and I and Bret are all in the SoCal area.
Yeah, definitely come on out. We'll camp for a couple of days. We'll feast. We'll honor the gods, and we'll have a good time.
Absolutely. I'll have to check my spring schedule. See if we can make it out there.
Yep, we haven't confirmed the dates just yet. We should be doing that in the next couple weeks. I need to talk to some of the folks down the Northern Hammer Hearth down in San Diego co-hosts it. They've helped us provide the land for the past couple years.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, definitely let us know.
Will do.
Well, thank you very much, Hauk, for joining us. We're very glad to have you.
It's my pleasure.
And to our listeners, be sure to check Hauk's music out. You can find him on Facebook. Definitely worth a listen. Like I said, it's helped me through some hard times. I've got 3 of his albums. I highly recommend them. I can't wait to get the new Black Hat Society album.
Absolutely. On Raven's Wings and No Mercy for the Slain have become 2 repeats for me.
Oh, thank you.
And now we are proud to present Ghosts of the Open Road by the Black Hat Society.
Sister lives in Joshua Tree, said she wanted to spend some time with me. So I got in my truck and I hit the road. I missed the turnoff, kept on driving, heading for the open skyline. The desert was calling me home. Time stood still, the miles passed by, the stars flew across the sky. The sun rose and set again. I didn't have a destination, an object of fascination. Embrace the sun and the pouring rain. I'll be dancing when the stars start falling from the sky. I'll be dancing to songs about the likes of you and I. When the iron towers all corrode, I'll be dancing, dancing with the ghosts of the open road. So offer me money for my soul, offer me money for my soul, offer me blues, fame, a lofty goal. Tell me the world will kneel at my feet. Stars start falling from the sky. I'll be dancing to songs about the likes of you and I. I'll be dancing when the iron towers are corrode. I'll be dancing, dancing with the ghosts of the open road. Fiddle, come on. Continental Divide, found a food shack by the roadside. I stopped for some fried bread. The Navajo waitress said good day, said I'd best be on my way. We serve the living, not the dead. I put my truck back into drive, a raven flew on my right side. It whispered, follow me. We drove back the way I came, embraced the sun and the pouring rain. The desert knows what it means to be free. I'll be dancing when the stars start falling from the sky. I'll be dancing to songs of racing with the ghosts of the open road.
Alright, and a big thank you to Hauk Hiemsdallman once again for coming on air with us. We definitely appreciate him for this interview, and we definitely want to thank him again for letting us use his song as our theme. And we all hope that you definitely liked his new song coming out that we were able to play for you guys. Now, coming up next, we're going to talk about how the three of us, Andrew, Bret, and I, came to Asatru. Now, this is probably going to be quite interesting, and you'll learn a lot about the three of us that maybe you never knew before. So, why don't we give it a go? So, I'll start. Let's see, I've been a heathen and an Asatru for about 7 years, almost 8 now. It all started when my whole life my parents were Jewish, but to call them that is something difficult to do as they never really practiced or religious at all until I was 13. Then all of a sudden we were religious, and I'd have a bar mitzvah, and that was something that made me actually learn about the religion and about my family and history and everything, and realize maybe that was a giant waste of my time, which it was. And so I started looking into other things. Mythology had always been something that was fascinating to me, so I was drawn to Norse mythology because of an interest in Lord of the Rings, and then from there on I started believing that maybe these beings and all these things that were in Norse mythology could exist and explain things that happened in the world that maybe I hadn't had answers to before, and I started following these ways and practicing these ways before I really even knew that Asatru was a religion or that it existed.
What was the first god that really spoke to you?
That would be Odin, probably because of an affinity for Gandalf, perhaps, or just the old man figure in general. But my whole life, there always seemed to be this wise old man in the background. And then when I discovered Odin, it kind of just clicked that perhaps was him, and this was what I should have been doing. And then it just sprouted, and I learned as much as I can, as I am still doing, and that's how I became a
Now, one of the interesting things you said is, of course, the mythologies. I remember you telling me how you got your first mythology book.
Well, I'm glad you remember. I'm telling you because, let's see, my first mythology book, I'm pretty sure...
Bullfinches,
which I think ended up being dropped in a toilet at some point.
Yeah, oh my.
So I've got a few copies of bullfinches, but I'm pretty sure my, let's put it politely, crazy aunt bought bullfinches for me and introduced me into this world, which I can thank her for that and little else, but at least there's that, and bullfinches and just all the mythologies of the world was definitely something that got me started. Oh, my crazy aunt. But that's a story for a whole other episode.
Quite.
Maybe a few.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, who would like to go next, unless there's any more questions either of you two have?
No, that's the one I had.
Yep. Alright, well then I guess I'm up. Let's see, it's getting close to my first full year as a heathen now. Coming very close. We will be getting there with, as soon as we pass Krampusnacht, I believe. But how did I come to Asatru? Well, Seth has quite a bit of influence there, though much more after the fact rather than prior. I had always been interested in Norse mythology. I knew it was in Lord of the Rings, not anywhere to the magnitude that, you later find out. But for majority of my life, I wasn't very spiritually interested. My parents raised me Christian, Presbyterian. I don't really know the difference between being Presbyterian and being Baptist or Methodist, really, but it never resonated with me. From a very, very young age, would just dead weight, didn't want to go to church. Was not my thing. But as I got older, around 19, 18, 19, around there, I really felt that there was something missing from my life. And I had, I guess we have to start with how I met Seth. Which brings up Staples. The wonderful company Staples. I started working at Staples and looked at the employee the timesheet and saw a name that I recognized that I hadn't seen in years, and that was the name Katie Hansen, Seth's girlfriend and fiance. So, hadn't seen Katie in years, literally since we were children in elementary school. So I went and I was like, "Do you have a little brother?" We reconnected, and then ultimately ended up meeting Seth. We grew. That's where it started, yeah. All thanks to Katie, but
A little more than all thanks to.
I did.
Let's just say
more
Andrew
than all
and I
thanks
didn't
to.
know what was happening until it already happened.
Yeah, Katie orchestrated that one pretty much from the start. But through hanging out with them, came to find out they were heathen. And I think one of the very amazing things about it was there wasn't talk of it. There wasn't mention. Of course, I mean, I saw the Vey. It just never really came up. Though it heavily piqued my interest. So I did a little bit of research on my own online. And then December rolled around, December 2014. And alright. Well, we were all hanging out for Krampusnacht. We were observing the eve of Krampus. And everyone else had pretty much gone to bed, and Seth and I were still up talking. And we decided to go out for a walk. And mind you, the house we were hanging out at, the house they were living in at the time, was right next to a heavily wooded area. So we decided to go out in the middle of the evening, and we found a bridge. Where I went ahead and first asked Seth, "Are you really heathen?" I think that was the first question, right? So, are you guys really heathen? And I don't even know how long we were out there. A lot of it, I don't even still remember. But it was a very mystical and interesting night. I have to say mystical because that night just explained. I don't know. That night set me down this path, and it's felt. I honestly, like Hauk had said, it felt like coming home.
It was an interesting night.
Like to quote, like Hauk had said previously in our interview with him, finding Asatru felt like coming home. You know, honestly, it's been a search for me personally to find exactly who I have the most ties to. But the first god that I ever saw without first really getting to know the gods, I feel was Odin. I don't know. I can't really explain. Exactly. Oh, yes. The wisest among us.
Well, the important thing is that they're speaking to you.
So, Bret, I think I know I've been waiting for this.
You've been waiting for this, huh? Waiting for the old man to speak. Okay. I don't know about wise, but... well, as a kid, of course, I had seen Thor and Odin, Asgard, and comic books, being a big Marvel Comics fan, all growing up. But it was about 11 years ago when I first came to Asatru. I was at the lowest point of my life, is the best way to describe it. I don't want to go into details, but I was pretty much no farther down could I go. And a friend of mine named Jesse Cox came up to me and asked me, your heritage is Northern European, isn't it? And I said, yeah, part German, part Irish, part Italian. And he said, do you want to learn about your ancestors, your past? And it had been something that always interested me. I mean, I've been looking through a bunch of different religions at the time. I've read Gnostic Bible, I've researched Christianity, Catholicism, baptism. Never really looked at Islam at all. Just everything I already knew about it, it's like, no thank you. And nothing about the Jewish faith that ever interested me at all. So I went with Jesse and we sat down and had about a good 6-hour conversation on the subject. And he's the first one who told me what it was actually called was Asatru, and the gods, goddesses, the runes. I think we've hit on every major thing in very, not intimate detail, but just quick overviews. And that made me just want to go, whoa, I need to learn as much as I can about this now. So I was talking to my mom, and she asked if, for my birthday, what's coming up, she asked me if I wanted anything, and I asked her for 3 books. The Poetic Edda, Futhark, Handbook of Rune Magic by that wonderful Edred Thorson, which I still have, but I like his work. The man himself, I don't really respect at all. But he's written some good work. And Mists of the Norsemen was the 3rd book. Still have them today. They are worn from constant reading. And that was 11 years ago. And the funny thing is, my mom just came out for a visit a while ago. And we were sitting down talking about this. And I was telling her what I was doing with the Asatru community. And the changes that have been going on and we've been making this past year. And she goes, this all started from those 3 little books? And I'm like, yeah, it did. It did. I now have a son who's almost 2 years old, and he is being raised Asatru. And it's great. I love it. He already has his own hammer.
That sounds amazing and perfect.
Just a little too young to wear it yet.
I've noticed lately,
Are you going to do
I have
sort of
2 siblings,
ceremony
and
and giving it to them, or
my eldest sibling, my sister.
Well,
she had a
they
child
have
2 years ago, my nephew, Wyatt.
rites of manhood that I've learned about in Asatru.
Grabbing my Mjolnir,
I think when he's
and not
13, he and I are going to take
jerking away,
off,
but
maybe go up to the
I'll
woods
pick him
and
up,
just be me and him and
he's
go do those
intimately
rites.
Looking and observing, feeling. And it's something I'm really excited about. Oh, really? Perfect. Oh, wow. What is the name of that book? I'm sorry, or did you say you had a children's book?
That's good. I mean, I tell Nick, the Miss as bedtime stories. Yeah. Yeah. I have a really cool illustrated gods book for children that we use. It's awesome.
Oh, perfect.
It is the mythology library, Norse mythology, legends and myths of the Nordic gods. And I guess it's not really a children's book, but it's what I use to read to him. It's seen some use too. Got all kinds of great pictures and all great sections, and just read to him all the time.
Yes.
I'm actually rereading a actual children's book for Norse mythology. Why? I don't know. But the pictures are quite nice.
That's actually a pretty amazing book, and I forgot that I had it.
Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce the author's name. It's a quite famous one. D-R-L. You have it too, Andrew. Yes. I've never actually seen such illustrations with like all the gods together and the ones that are in this book is quite nice. But that's why I'm rereading it. Or not rereading it, reading it for the first time actually, because I got it and never read it. But now this brings me to a question, Bret, that you have evaded so far. What was the first god that came to you?
The first god that came to me was Thor. He is not who I feel closest to, but he's the first god that actually spoke to me. To giving me strength in the times I was dealing with, and personal power, I guess, is a good one that he helped me with as well. And he helped me get off my feet. Odin is the god I feel closest to, with his lust for knowledge, like I have, of learning everything I can about this and a myriad of other subjects. But I also have strong ties to Uller, and I think a lot of that's growing up in Colorado in the mountains with the ski and the snow. And I feel good, strong ties to Uller as well.
No, not too many people, unfortunately, have heard of Uller. Actually, a lot of people know of him as a lesser known deity. Do you mind explaining who?
Uller is the son of Sif, actually, and Thor is his stepfather. He's a winter god. He gave mankind the ability to ski. He is pretty much not around most in the summer times. In the winter, though, while Odin is off on the wild hunt, he ascends to Hildeskaf and takes over as king of the gods. Well, of course, when Odin gets back at the end of winter and the end of the wild hunt, he gets a little ticked about it and ends up throwing Uller off, and he takes off till the next winter. But yeah, there's myths about him ascending to Hildeskaf in Odin's absence during the wild hunt. Yeah, it's a great story. It's one of my favorites.
I think I think the three of us, we all found Asatru in different ways, but something very similar called to the three of us, and I think everyone else who ends up finding this path. And as we've said a few times, and as I've heard many people say, finding Asatru is like finding home. Something just clicks, it feels right. Certain things begin to make sense that didn't before and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've actually started to very well. As a relatively new Asatru, I've only recently become to understand exactly how much of a personal growth and how much this is your path. This is what you have to research. This is your connection. And only recently have I really started to engross myself in literature and actually getting to the search. And it's been, just from the scratch of the iceberg, it's been a lot of fun and very fulfilling.
And it is religion with homework.
It just enriches it further.
And that's one reason TAC is where it is now, is to help with that journey.
Absolutely. I'd kind of take it to I can't remember his name, but the lead singer of Wardruna. I had watched the video of his acoustic cover of one of their songs, and he said, and one of the things he said really resonated with me. The old ways are gone or forgotten, and it is our job now to make the new ways, make the new songs as we move forward.
Yeah, I really like that quote. And whoever has not heard of Wardruna, please go to YouTube and look them up, and your life will be that much better for it. They're it's hard to describe them, but
they're a folk music is the best the way I describe them.
Folk, we mean like folk. Like they don't use modern instruments. They're as folk as you can get, and you should definitely go give them a listen. And by the way, their lead singer's name is Einar Selvik.
They're really good when you want to relax.
After a long day, just coming home to some more Druna is definitely a nice way to end it.
It is. It gets, for me personally, it's the perfect relax and get into the spiritual mood.
But I think maybe that would be a good topic for another episode. Something we can look
Absolutely.
into and talk about in the future. But is there anything else anyone would like to say for this episode? Our very first episode of TAC Halls.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to check out Shoemaker's Halls for little mini casts on all plethora of different ideas and myths and history.
There are things that you'll hear us talking about. You can find a lot more information from Bret's videos, Shoemaker Halls, or you can go to the website where we usually have a lot of articles on these things. But whatever media you like, whether you like listening, we've got podcasts, videos for watching, and articles for reading. So if you have something that needs answering, there's a darn good chance you'll be able to find it somewhere at the Asatru.
Yeah. And I'd like to say thank you to all our listeners with our first official podcast. Bear with us as we get into it and get into the groove of it. And thank you for being here.
Once again, let's reiterate our first podcast. So we thank you all if you have stuck through this long, and they will definitely be... We're going to be doing these bi-weekly, and we'll be having a lot of great people on to interview, discussing a lot of topics, and hopefully reaching out and, sharing a lot of things, educating, and just... join us and see what happens, I guess is the best thing to say.
Oh, and always make sure to let us know how we're doing, and why not let us know what you've got questions about or what we should talk about.
I think that's a great idea. We can definitely do an episode that's just based off answering people's questions. I know a lot of people feel like they don't have anywhere to turn or people to talk to, but we're definitely, all of us, including the rest of the board of the Asatru community who's not present in this podcast, are definitely here for anyone who has any questions or need help with anything.
All right, well, thanks a lot, and I'll see you around the net.